Welcome to MATCHplay, where every episode starts with a spark and ends with insight that can only come from personal experience at the highest level. Let's tee up some good conversation. Welcome back to MATCHplay. I'm Thad Miller. I want to welcome Eric Berridge, a great friend of mine, founder and former CEO of Bluewolf, an IBM company, which he sold in 2016. And that's a firm that he built over 2 decades ago. And it was the original and preeminent consultancy for Salesforce. I'm so happy to have you, Eric, calling in from none other than St. Andrews, Scotland.
That's right. We're here in the old town, right? Like we're right behind the 18th green at the old course.
He's got a Scottish flag in the background. He's got his open hat on. I mean, this is epic. We're going to next level with MATCHplay for sure. All right. So every episode we start out with a spark, a match strike, and some quick fire. Since you couldn't fly with matches over there, I've got the matches. I'm going to light the match. I'm going to hit you with some quick questions here. Ready?
Love it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right. First job you ever had, Eric?
Out of college,
No, when you were a kid.
I aerated lawns.
Good. And you had a putting green in your backyard, so you had to do some aerating there also, did you
I
not?
did. Yeah.
Is that a 2 time
Absolutely.
a year aeration or just a 1 time?
We like to aerate as often as possible because we like firm and fast playing conditions.
I love it. Top dress, it was
Top
sand.
dress,
Just
firm and fast,
exactly.
quality turf.
First golf course you ever played?
Crystal Springs Golf Course.
In
Just off of Highway 280 in San Mateo, California.
nice. Best logo in golf?
No logo.
No logo. What do you think of par, Eric? Do we have time to talk about that? I don't think we have time. We won't go there. Best business book you've ever read?
Moneyball.
All right, good call. And then, okay, player's choice. Caddy or carry your own bag?
Push cart.
Push cart. Wow.
Yeah.
It always surprises. All right, so getting started. We're on the front 9 of MATCHplay here. Obviously, Eric is an author, co-founder of a business. He's a current CEO of a company now, and he's just been a great friend of mine. And I just want to talk a little bit about Bluewolf. And what inspired you to start Bluewolf?
I really didn't have a choice. We were in the middle of like the dot-com bust. I had
Yeah.
been working at a software company in New York City that went public and stock went to $100. And then in the period of about 3 months, the stock went to 0 and it went bankrupt. And a guy that was working with me on the sales side, he and I were basically out of jobs. So we said, let's go start a company.
So the two of you
And
started it like 50-50
yep,
partner type scenario and just went after it?
50-50 partner.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. That is awesome. And obviously, the concept, maybe give a little background to it. I mean, obviously, you did consultancy, installation, manning. Give a little background if you don't mind for the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my career started in the software business out of college, and kind of learned the ropes of software back in the early to mid 90s. And one of the things that and I was always on the sales side, as was my co-founder at Bluewolf. And what we had seen was that companies were buying this really complex software and they didn't know how to make it work. And the big consultancies like the Arthur Andersons of the world, the KPMGs, the Deloitte's of the world, were charging them an arm and a leg, and their projects were slow, and their consultants were gouging them. And we came in under the radar and just did things quicker and faster, and we were nimble. And it was also amazing timing for us because shortly after we started the company, this whole concept of the cloud came to life, and we jumped on that immediately. Whereas a lot of the traditional competitors in the space weren't so sure that the cloud was going to be a real thing. So we got a
Turns
real
out
lead.
it's a real thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's it's a real thing, But like we were kind of young and naive and had a lot of energy, and we loved being in front of customers, and that's what
That's
we did well.
incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then at its peak, like how many employees? Did you have independent contractors also? I mean, what was kind of your size as far as your workforce?
Yeah, so we sold the company in 2016 to IBM, and at that time we were about 600 people. We were global, so we had offices throughout the US, and we also had offices in the UK, France, Prague, Australia. So it was a global business, and it was a hell of a lot of fun building it. Looking back on it, I will say at the time, and it was a lot of stress, on an ongoing daily
Oh, I'm
basis,
sure.
but it was a dream come true for us.
That's incredible. What were some of the early challenges, like building credibility? I mean, nobody knew who Blue Wolf was. Obviously, people knew who KPMG was and all those other things. I mean, just one client at a time, I'm assuming?
We had to absolutely like knock doors down to get anyone to listen to us.
Yeah.
And, we had a take no prisoners attitude. My partner and I would literally sit in a little office on 20th Street in Manhattan. It was about 400 square feet. We had two metal desks that we had purchased at a flea market. We had a couple computers that we got used. And I think my partner Michael hooked up a phone system. We would literally make 50 cold calls a day until we could get people to meet with us. And we didn't go home until we made that 50th call. So
Wow.
in the early days, there was a lot of rejection. It was kind of a standstill in the technology space because of the dot-com crash. And, we had to fight like hell to get clients.
So this
But
is 2002?
it was 2001. Was our first full year in
Yeah.
business. So,
Yeah.
those first couple of years, it was literally just get in front of customers and figure out what they needed and
Yeah.
go on a listening tour.
Wow.
And that's how the business got started.
Go on a listening tour. I like that. Uh, any key stories or big wins that, big success early on, or, 5 years, something that really peaked? I mean, obviously Salesforce started about that same time or a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean,
So Salesforce came to market in 99. We started working with them really the end of '01, early 2002. The early part of our business was more focused on Oracle. And we shifted to Salesforce once we took the leap to the cloud. And it wasn't called the cloud back then. It was called on demand. And then it was called software as a service. Our early successes were just landing big clients.
yeah.
And, one of the stories I love to tell, and hopefully this is inspiring to people out there thinking of starting their own businesses. I mentioned we wouldn't leave the office until we made 50 calls each every day. And on a Friday, my 50th call, I got a CIO on the phone, and he was at a company called Prime Media, which is a big publisher in New York City. And his name was Howard Bruck. Hopefully you're out there somewhere, Howard. And he gets on the phone, and I said, "Hi, Mr. Bruck. This is Eric Berridge calling from Bluewolf. We're a consultancy. We do work around Oracle, etc." And he said, "Well," and I said, "I'd love to come and see you and just drop off a business card." And he said, "Look, you're welcome to come see me, but we have nothing going on. I have no budget, and it's really a waste of your time." And I said, "That's cool. No problem. Can I stop by Monday at 9 o'clock?" He said, "Sure, stop by Monday." So sure enough, Monday morning, I get in his office at like 8:45. I'm sitting in the lobby. He comes out, brings me into his office, and he goes, "It's your lucky day. I just came out of our CEO's office. I just got approval for a $5 million Oracle project. If you guys can staff this for us, I'll give you a shot at it." And for the next 2 years, that account carried our business.
Wow. And it was the 50th call of the
It was the
day on
last call
Friday.
on a Friday.
Oh
And
my
that's a true story. And that really kind of gave us a little headroom to start to figure out the cloud thing and to get closer to Salesforce. At the time, Salesforce was a $5 million company. They had about 60 employees. All of them were in San Francisco. Today they're a $40 billion company with people all around the world.
Yeah, that's incredible. You're right. It's that last call sometimes, that last patient, that last whatever,
The
that
inches we need are everywhere, Dad.
Al Pacino. Love it. All right. Any lessons from like the hiring, scaling, and building of your team? What any lessons to pass on for, like I said, a young entrepreneur or somebody that's building something?
Yeah, I'll say this. You never know if you're hiring the right person. You can look at someone from every single angle. You can do multiple reference checks. You can scour their LinkedIn. You can translate it into 10 different languages. You really don't know. But I'll tell you what you do know. You do know when it's time for them to leave. And
Yeah.
the mistake many of us make is that when our gut's telling us we've got the wrong person in the wrong seat, we take too long to either exit that person or transition that person into another role. I have just found over the years that our gut is always right in those situations.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. No, I totally agree. And just don't delay. It just
No,
isn't it amazing how everybody else lifts up when the bad person's gone. You know?
absolutely. And I'll say being able to identify the difference between growth and change is really important because you're never going to change anyone, but people do grow and they're separate tracks, right? Like you hire someone that's young and hungry and maybe they make a few mistakes, but they're hitting it every day. Well, that's called growth. You hire someone that just doesn't get along with people or doesn't have that burning fire in their belly. You can't change that.
Yeah,
And, that's how organizations scale, right?
that's incredible. Okay, so when you're running this thing, you're cooking, this is 2014, 15, 16. Like when did you know it was time to sell? Like what was going on in your head when it was time to transition this business?
Yeah. I mean, our market had reached a point of maturity. It matured beyond that too. We could have kept going. There's no doubt about it. We could still be running Bluewolf today. It was really a decision we made based on market conditions, based on the fact that we knew IBM was out there looking, and they were a great home for what we had built. And my co-founder and I and our leadership team, it was a major event for us. So, I think there was a quote from Kleiner Perkins back in the day that said, "The time to take the tarts is when they're being passed." And we felt like it was that time for the business, and
Yeah.
it was a great outcome for everyone. It was a good outcome for IBM. It was a good outcome for Salesforce. And while I look back on my Blue Wolf days with like incredible fondness and gratitude, and I'm thankful to so many different people, I also feel like the timing was the right time for us.
Was there outside influences too? I mean, were there like waves of change or something that, I mean, I know Salesforce was continuing to just grow dramatically at that time too, obviously.
They were, and the GSIs like the Accentures, Deloittes of the world had come into our market, so we were
Yeah.
competing against them more and more. And while we got a kick out of beating them, it was also a more competitive marketplace, and it was going to
Yeah.
require ongoing investment on our part.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did it transpire? I mean, we don't have to get into exact details, but like, did you just get a call, or were you like, I'm going to hire somebody? Who did you surround yourself with? You don't have to give names, but like, what type of? Because this was
Yeah, so
obviously a big transaction with IBM.
we hired a banker. We hired William Blair at the time. They were great. It was about a 5-month process,
Yeah.
start to finish. And I think the best time to go to market is when you have strength in your business. The worst time to go to market is when things are flat or in decline. And we had a lot of strength in our business. So we kind of went at it with the attitude that if we don't find the right buyer at the right price point, we'll just keep going. Like there
Yeah.
wasn't this mandate that we had to sell the business, which I think was really helpful because in parallel, we just kept running the business at the same speed we'd always run it at.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, because I mean, I work with clients and I always tell them there's no cruise control in business. It's
Mhm.
just, you've got to continue to invest and continue to drive forward because it shows up when you're trying to sell. You're right, do all you can, and if you're not growing and you're flat, maybe you need to make some cuts so your net looks better.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's critical because nobody wants to buy a declining asset.
No, they want to see momentum. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately how you drive value and valuation.
Any reflections on your impact, Blue Wolf had on clients? Obviously, you were started from bootstrap. I mean, and then
Right.
just impact on the change that was happening in CRM and everything that was going on. Any reflections that you like to look back on?
I mean, the thing we were really good at was we didn't fall in love with the technology. It was never about the technology. It was what we got really good at was getting in front of clients and helping them to define solutions and helping them to build consensus throughout their organization so that we could then build solutions that drove business value. And we always started our projects and our customer relationships with that business value conversation. We would never start with the technology. Like,
Yeah.
who cares about the technology if it's not going to move your business forward? And defining that business value and tying it to your ongoing business strategies, I think what organizations struggle with the most. The
Yeah.
technology just keeps getting better and better and better, but it's why you're deploying it and it's what you're trying to achieve that matters the most.
Yeah. I mean, every business is a people business. There's no doubt. And if you don't have
Everyone.
good people, you're not going to grow. And yeah. So, all right. So since 2016, Eric, you've been busy, and I know you're back at it out there. But since then, you had a little time, and we had a global pandemic. And why don't you tell the listeners now? We can switch more to the golf component. What have you been doing? Huh? Some people
Uh,
join a club. You kind of took it to the next level.
well, I'm a big believer that things happen in life like iteratively and the grand plan always fails, but it's like the journey that you keep going down. As long as you keep moving forward, that unveils the interest and the spice of life. Uh, Almost 20 years ago, I was involved in a project at my home golf club in New York and had the great fortune to work with Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw to do a renovation on that golf course.
Is it
And
Waikiko?
this is at Waikiki, yeah, just
Yeah.
north of New York City. A great old course, a lot of fun to play. And I met a guy named James Duncan, who was part of the Crenshaw team. He found out that I was originally from Northern California and started talking my ear off about building a golf course in Northern California somewhere. And this goes all the way back to 2006. And just 18 months ago, we opened that golf course. It's called Brambles. It's about 20 minutes north of Calistoga in the Napa Valley. I know you've been up there, Thad, with your dad.
Spectacular. My father and I played it, and it was incredible. I got a video of him hitting a 5-wood out of one of those big face bunkers on
Yeah,
the green. I think it was on 17, maybe.
yeah, I think it was 17. Then what hole did he break his driver on again? That
Well, that was the
was
same bunker. That we went
15.
out the night before and played a few holes to warm up, and the wind got his push cart and it got away from it, went in the bunker, broke his driver. So he wasn't real happy about that. And we went to, we had a beer, got some rest, came out the next day. He drove it in that bunker and then hit a miraculous shot. And so that is like, there's the road hole bunker. There's a lot of bunkers where you are that have names, in St. Andrews. Maybe that's the Jack Miller bunker right there.
That we'll call it the Jack Miller bunker. Today I played next to the Bobby Jones bunker, which is where he walked off the golf course. So they named a bunker after him from walking off the
Never
golf
again.
course.
Never coming back.
But I'll tell you something about Brambles, which I get a lot of satisfaction out of, is so we built this golf course. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's very natural. It's beautiful. It's a sustainable model from an agronomic perspective. We don't use a lot of water. We don't use a lot of pesticides, if any. But the thing that I've like really gotten into is waking up every single morning and trying to figure out how we can make it better. How can we have a better experience for the people that comes through there? How can our employees engage in a better way with all of our customers? How does the golf course get better? How does the service get better? There was a book that we all read about a year and a half ago called Setting the Table by Danny Meyer.
Yeah.
And, big restaurateur in New York City, started out with the Union Square Cafe back in the early 90s. And his whole philosophy is you wake up every day and like mediocrity is not an option. Like, always look at your business and your offering from the outside. Like, what does a fresh eye look like when it comes through your facility? And he's got this great analogy where he says that owners have to always be moving the salt shaker back to the center of the table. And he said, I walk through my restaurants and I'll look at the table that's been set, and that salt and pepper shaker, they're kind of a little off to the side. I walk up to that table, I put them right back in the middle.
Yeah. Details
Great quote.
matter.
They
Details
all
matter.
matter. Yep.
Yeah. And especially if you're, I think about it in my world, if I bring in a potential buyer, they're walking through it with a different lens than the seller. And the seller might be just doing the routine every day and getting by. But you got to look at it through the buyer's eye if you're thinking about selling your business, no matter what business
100%.
it is. It's
I, I'll,
just critical.
I'll tell you, place matters too. So when we sold to IBM, we had one of the great breaks we had was we leased our last office in 2009 when rents in New York City were in the, they had bottomed out after the financial crisis. So we leased this insane space at the top of this building on 26th Street. So we have views of Madison Square Park. And we dialed the office in. Like, it cost money. It was an investment, but we made it a great place. And we bring customers there. And they bought from us because they felt like, wow, these guys know what the hell they're doing. Like,
Yeah.
this is a good
Yeah.
place. And I'll tell you, when we wheeled IBM through there during the acquisition process, their eyes were like saucers.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage any entrepreneur, like, just remember, your place of work is your home. It should be, it should look amazing. It should smell good. It should be functionally beautiful, right? Like,
Yeah.
particularly in the medical business, like as a patient, I want to go in and think that, you're using cutting edge stuff to work on, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, in any business, like you said, because they got to look at it, like you said, they got to think ahead. Begin with an end in mind is one of the things that, one of our previous persons on the pod talked about. And I think that is such a critical thing, is if you don't, you're kind of moving backwards. Okay. Final steps here. We always end match play with some good swing thoughts. Okay. And you played the old course today, correct?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
how'd you finish? What were your last couple holes there, road hole and finishing hole?
Yeah, I mean the road hole. So 16, which is the principal nose bunker.
Yes.
I was hitting my driver really well today, and my most recent swing thought is just a weight at the top of that backswing. So I was hitting the driver really well. I pulled my drive on 16 a
Like
little
a
bit, but
Matsuyama pause? Is that what you're
not.
doing?
I mean, I haven't seen it on film, so I'm not going to give myself much credit. But I do think, like, you've got to wait because the body's got to move before those arms move, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on. I
So you
missed
get
the per,
trapped. That's the trap, is you get stuck. Yeah, you get
and
stuck.
then you got to call penman, and then you're
And then it
back to
goes
square one.
everywhere. It goes right and left. Exactly. You got to light the match, shut the door.
I will tell you though, 17, like the road hole and that green is the angle of that green is maybe the greatest architectural feature in all of golf. It
Yeah.
is, it's such a hard angle. I made bogey, pin was back left. I missed like a 6 footer for par. And then I parred
Grinding
18
over there.
coming in. I parred 18 coming in. Funny story, actually. I got paired with three people from the Golf Channel because they're out here covering the college tournament.
That your
And
son is playing in. His son
it,
Charlie's playing in a tournament. One of the many reasons he's out there to watch his son, but he got pulled today in the lottery. So he's like, well, I'm going to go play. I can catch a few holes maybe later.
that's absolutely right. So I get paired with three of the Golf Channel employees, including one of their on-course reporters, a woman named Amelia, who played at Wake Forest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And after three holes, they cut over to 15 to finish because they had to get back to their job.
Oh, that's
So
so sad.
I played the last 15 holes as a single.
Oh, which is kind of a blessing, but
It
yeah, by
was,
yourself? That never happens.
no. I was like, just don't make a hole in one because no one's going to believe it. You
Yeah.
know,
Did you have a caddy or were you
I
pushing
had a
the?
caddy.
Okay, well there you go. You'd have
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
witness. You'd have
Yeah.
had a witness.
Okay. This guy was a great
Yeah.
guy.
My caddy when I played there, his name was Tom. He'd never left the county his entire life.
Wow.
Like, yeah. Think about that. Never
Well,
left the county.
I spent 3 hours and 20 minutes with Dennis, and we didn't run out of things to talk about, thankfully. But like
Yeah.
we were just he and I walking along.
Yeah.
But the
Oh.
funny thing is, every caddy out there would look over to our group and go, Dennis, what's going on? You got a one ball out there? No,
Like a
no one had ever
dignitary. He
no one
thought
had ever
everybody
seen a
thought
one
you were
ball.
like a dignitary. Yeah. Yeah. King of
Yeah,
a
like,
small province or
well,
something.
I'm going on the match play. What is it? DDS match
Yeah,
play.
Match Play is the podcast, and I
I
just want to
told
say,
them I was
yeah,
going on the match play podcast, so I needed
tune
to
in.
finish quickly. You know.
Tune in soon. Exactly. Well, my friend, I so appreciate this. And thanks for everybody for tuning in to Match Play. That was great stuff, Eric. I really appreciate it. From St. Andrews, he's got the Scottish flag behind him.
Yeah.
So we'll see everybody next round.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. That I really appreciate being on.
Love it.